Welcome to this video of the review problems for the unbalanced force model. Just a reminder, best use of this is to first do the questions yourself and then watch the video if you had any problems or if you got stuck for help. And I think working on it first and then looking at my video is probably the best way to go. So let's look at the first one here. It says an 80-kilogram water skier is being pulled by a boat. Find the drag force on the skier. So we're going to start with a force diagram here, and we're going to have this 220 Newton force. Let's call this an applied force, and I'm going to say that to the right is going to be the direction that it's moving. And in fact, right now I'll just take care of the fact that, and I kind of like to use red, I'm going to say this is the positive direction of motion, that's the negative, that's how I'm going to define things. What other forces do we have acting? Well, we have this drag force to the left, or to the negative direction. I'll call it F drag. And I've got a force of gravity downwards, and I've got a normal force upwards, and these are going to be equal and opposite, canceling each other out. And the question is find the drag force on the skier. So a couple things is that we can say, well, F net literally means what is the sum of the forces. So if I can draw an equation for this, the forces that are horizontal, because that's the ones that don't add up to zero in this case, I'm going to say F net is going to be equal to the FA minus the drag force. Okay, similarly, the other thing we know about F net is that it belongs in this whole A. Here, I'll switch to green. A is equal to F net over m. And we have some information about the acceleration here. The acceleration is 1.8. So 1.8 is going to be equal to this FA minus the drag force all over the mass. And now let's put in all the things that we know. Well, we know that the applied force is 220 minus the drag force that we're going to try to find, and the mass in this case was 80. Now it's really just some careful algebra work. What I'm going to do is I'll multiply both sides times 80. So when I multiply the right and the left times 80 here, those 80s will cancel out. On the left hand side, 1.8 times 80 is, I think, 140. So 140 is equal to 220 minus the drag force. And then actually I'll do two things here. I'm going to add the drag force to both sides so that I get the force of the drag. Here, maybe I'll write it like this. So I'm going to add the drag force. So I'll get the force of drag on the left now. And I'll subtract 140 from both sides. So I get 220 minus 140, which would be 80 newtons. And there's my answer. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. And that's question number 1.